All right, for the 365 Days Project Video Podcast, this is another tutorial, and I'm out here with Nick St. Julian, also known as the self-proclaimed sexiest man I've ever worked with. I think you may have seen it before in an early podcast. We're coming out to do a few shots for his modeling portfolio, and sometimes when you're out doing a shot like this and you're under daylight, it's a little hard to see what's going on in your LCD. And when that happens, you kind of have a hard time determining whether you shot something good or not. So we're going to teach you how to use histograms. So Nick, if you'll go stand in your spot over there, we'll get started. All right, I'm looking at my meter here. Now, a good way to determine whether you're going to be shooting proper exposure or not is just by looking at your meter and trying to make sure that you're getting it in the middle marker there. But it's not always correct. So let's see what's going to happen. Okay, I'm going to look at my display here, and I'm noticing on the histogram, on the left-hand side, you see the histogram reads on the left-hand side it's darks, on the right-hand side it's lights. And the little mountain there should kind of be in the middle. Now you can see that on this photo it's pretty dark. Now we could probably go in Photoshop and lighten that up, but that's not what we want to do. We want to get proper exposure. We want to get that mountain to be in the center there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my aperture, and we're going to try it again. All right. All right. I'm looking at my my histogram again here, and again, it's you're not crushing the blacks. The blacks are still visible. They're not being cut off there, but also there's still a little bit of latitude in the right-hand side. So we're going to bump up our aperture one more time. Good. Now I'm looking at my histogram here, and I see that it's neither clipping the blacks nor the whites, and it gives me a lot of latitude to work with here in Photoshop because all my information is contained there in the mid-tone area. So there I can always make the blacks darker or the lights lighter, but I'm not losing anything. It's not blowing out to white, and it's not clipping to black. Now let's see what would happen if we go to an extreme here and start clipping blacks. All right. I'm bumping my aperture up to f14. All right, as you can see with this photo, I'm clipping off the blacks. The photo is extremely dark. I have almost nothing up there in the lighter tones. So it'd be very hard to bring that out decently there in Photoshop. Let's go out the opposite way. Let's open this up to about f4.5, see what happens. Okay, went down to f4.5, and I can see on here that I am blowing out my the highlights there. Now, I can tell you that from looking at this, I can't really see my LCD that well. The ones that were lighter that it was blowing out looked pretty correct, but it wasn't. So where's a good place to start? If you're shooting someone out, or you're shooting yourself out in broad daylight, which this is not. We had broad daylight, but it looks like it's about to rain. What is a good rule of thumb, a good place to start at? Well, here's a little secret. And I talked about this in an earlier podcast when we talked about shutter speed, but I want to cover this again because this kind of covers the same thing. If you'll shut your aperture to f16, put your ISO on whatever you want to put it on. You can put it on 100, you can put it on 200, you can put it on 400, whatever you want to put it on. As long as whatever you put your shutter speed, whatever you put your ISO on, you match it with your shutter speed. So if you put your ISO on 100, put your shutter speed on 100. If you put your ISO on 200, put your shutter speed on 200, and so forth and so on. The constant number would be f16. Of course, again, it's not going to work out on a cloudy day like this because it's overcast, but on a bright, sunny day with no clouds in the sky, that's a good rule of thumb to work with. So I hope that helps you out with the 365 Days Project video podcast. We'll see you next week.